Yo, what's up guys, it's NLW here, back again with another video. Today, going to be giving you my thoughts on my review of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Both nights were great, full of good wrestling action, but before I get into the review, let me just remind you to like the video as it helps get the channel out there. Comment down below what you thought of NXT TakeOver and make sure you subscribe to NLW Figs today. So without further ado, let's get into the review. So we'll start off with night one. We've got Pete Dunne taking on Kushida in the opener. A really good fast-paced matchup. I love both of these guys. They've got counters for each other's moves, and Pete Dunne, he's the vicious heel, so he's really wrenching back on the hands and the fingers. Every time Kushida goes for a high-flying move, Pete Dunne is there to stomp him in. It was technical, but it was fast-paced as well. I really appreciated the fast sequences that these two were able to bring. Ultimately, Pete Dunne wins with the bitter end, and I want to see what these two do going forward. I know that Pete Dunne recently challenging for the NXT title. Maybe he'll go for the North American Championship for Kushida. It would have been nice to see him get the win here, but I understand why Pete Dunne was the one to win. But overall, solid opener. Love the fast-paced action. Next up, we got the Gauntlet Eliminator match, where the winner will face Johnny Gargano on night 2. So we've got Swerve and Leon Ruff. They start off the match, but they're brawling before the match even begins, and they go in, and then number 3 is Bronson Reed. He batters everyone. Number 4 is Cameron Grimes. He actually tries to pay Swerve, which is quite amusing, and I forgot how much I really enjoyed Cameron Grimes as an in-ring competitor back when he was Trevor Lee in Impact. Ultimately though, Dexter Lumis comes in, and I think this is where the first elimination comes in, is when Leon Ruff is pinned by Swerve. Lumis comes in, he tries to choke everyone out. I can't remember exactly who the next elimination is. I think it was Eli Drake who comes in, LA Knight as he's called now. He's cutting a promo on everybody. I think he's great character, but ultimately he gets eliminated quite early, which kind of shocked me, surprised me. It would have been nice to have seen him have a little bit more of a stronger showing, because he seems a bit weak in my opinion on this night, but other than that, I think it's still a solid match. It comes down to Bronson Reed and Swerve. They have a great closing sequence. They're both kicking out of each other's finishes. Reed, though, seems like he's a bit too OP. Swerve is easily quashed. Big boy splash off the top, so it's good to see Bronson Reed go on and face Gargano, but a bit of a shame. There was a couple of high spots in here. Sometimes it didn't click totally well, but I still enjoyed this match. Went by quite quickly and was an easy watch. Next up, we have my favourite match of the night. It was for the United Kingdom Championship, as Walter defended against Tommaso Ciampa. This one is just brutal throughout. Ciampa's trying to prove that he can still be that psycho killer that he was. Walter chops part of the announce table off, which looked absolutely disgusting. And the thing I love about Walter's style is he doesn't really have moves per se. He just batters you, and he'll hit massive chops on Ciampa, try and keep him down. There was a point during the break where Ciampa kept trying to clothesline down Walter and couldn't do it, but Walter just gets back up, hits him with a huge boot and another huge chop. And the thing with Walter's matches is he just beats down his opponent, and it's joyous to watch. Ciampa, though, he hits a fairy tale ending and then drops him with the DVD or the Celtic Cross, whatever he calls it. But that's still not enough. So Walter, he keeps coming back, hits a couple of power bombs, and the thing with Walter, he doesn't just hit his finisher, he beats you up until you can stand no more, chops Ciampa one final time, and wins and retains the United Kingdom Championship. Easily my favourite match of night 1, just brutal throughout. Want to see what Walter does from here on in. Next up, we got the tag team titles on the line, the vacant tag team championships. It's MSK, the Grizzled Young Vex, and Legado del Fantasma. I think this is a very fast-paced, flippy match. MSK, they're always fast-paced, and I love their style. I know it's quite spot-fest, indie-rific, but once in a while, if it's over the top, I really love that stuff. So they're flying all over the place. Fantasma, his crew is flying all over the place as well. The Grizzled Young Vets, it feels like it's just the GYV versus MSK for most of the match, because I don't think Logano do that much in this one. It ends with MSK winning the tag team championships. Very fast paced. I would say perhaps they went a little bit overboard sometimes, because after a couple of matches down, I'm into the night, and although the show was an easy watch, my attention span after Walter versus Ciampa was draining a little bit, so it was hard to keep up with at times. However, I can appreciate the effort that was put in, and it was certainly exciting to say the least. And the main event of night 1, it is Io Shirai putting the NXT Women's Championship on the line against Raquel Gonzalez. For the majority of this match, it's the underdog David versus Goliath story. Raquel is battering Io Shirai from pillar to post. Eventually, though, Io comes back with a series of kicks and knee strikes, and then the highlight of the match is when she jumps off of the stage, which I forgot to mention. I love the stage for this set. It's this big skull, reminds me of Survivor Series 1998, so dives off the top of the skull and then hits a moonsault in the ring, but Raquel kicks out. and then Raquel comes back, hits a powerbomb, and wins the NXT Women's Championship. So a very good match. I really enjoyed it. It did seem a little bit rushed because they only had, 15 minutes to go on the show. Could have had a little bit more time, but I still really enjoyed it for what it was. Io, she's been a great champion, and although Raquel may not be as good a wrestler as Io, I think she's going to do a good job as women's champion, and I think, with the strong baby faces they have on NXT, I think she's got plenty of challengers to go after her, and with the new signing, Taya Valkyrie, or whatever she's called now, coming in to NXT, should be an interesting time for the women's division. And moving on to night 2, it kicks off with a ladder match to unify the Cruiserweight Championships, with Jordan Devlin taking on Santos Escobar. They have a couple of innovative spots in this match. There is a little bit of waiting, but it doesn't really detract from the match in my opinion. There's a cool arrow dive to the outside to a ladder. Jordan Devlin hits this big moonsault from the top. Santos, though, ultimately whacks Jordan Devlin with a headbutt. He crashes through and breaks a ladder, and Santos is the new undisputed Cruiserweight champion. Legado del Fantasma, they also interfered during the match, and then he's celebrating on stage with his kid. So it's a little bit conflicting whether he's a heel or whether he's not a heel, but for a heel versus heel match, I think they pulled it off quite well. Some interesting spots, not the most exciting ladder match of all time, but certainly some interesting spots nonetheless. Next match, we got the women's tag titles on the line as Shotzi and Ember defend against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. It's a match that's much better than it had any right to be, in my opinion. Wasn't really looking forward going into it, and there are a couple of times they mess up, like Shotzi takes a ridiculous dive to the outside. It's lucky she wasn't hurt, and an Eclipse messes up at one point, but other than that, it was quite exciting. I like the fire that Ember and Shotzi have and the chemistry they have as a team. So they win, they beat Indy with a top senton, and all I will say is that I would hope that the NXT Women's Tag Team titles are treated better than the Women's Tag titles on the main roster, and they can have more tag teams from the Women's division here on NXT. Next up, we have the North American Championship on the line as Bronson Reed challenges Johnny Gargano. And this matchup, I felt it went a little bit too long for my taste. Bronson, though, he's throwing everything at Gargano, and he keeps kicking out of things, and this is one of the problems I have with NXT as a whole, and maybe AEW as well to an extent, just the constant kickouts of big moves and finishes and stuff like that. But it is a good match, and it's better than I thought it was going to be heading in, so that's pretty good. I don't know, something wasn't really clicking with me for this match, but it was good. I can admit that. 2 final beats for Gargano to win. Not really anything memorable here. I just wonder where Bronson Reed's going to go and who's left to challenge Johnny Gargano. Next up, the NXT Championship is on the line as Karrion Kross challenges Finn Balor, the champion. The promo package was fantastic. Love the Rob Zombie theme that they got for this takeover. And Kross, I think, I'm not really on the hype of this guy as much as other people are, but I will say this is probably my favourite Karrion Kross match to date. It's also the most vulnerable he's looked as Finn Balor. He's toying with him early on, which I really enjoyed. A couple of stomps from Balor, tries to get Kross, but Kross is just absolutely vicious, pounds the back of Finn Balor's skull, and eventually goes for his Snap Saito suplex, and the final shot wins it, and he is the new NXT champion. Karrion Kross, now the leader of NXT. A good match, and better than I thought it was going to be heading in. Probably my favourite match of the night, all things considered, apart from the ladder match. I wonder what Kross is going to do now, because I was expecting him to go up to the main roster soon, but apparently that's not going to happen anytime soon, which I think is good. Looking forward to seeing what he does with the NXT title, but I don't really know of any good faces that there are in NXT that are on Kross's level in terms of star power, so it'll be interesting to see how things go from there and how Finn recovers from this. And finally, we got the main event. It is an unsanctioned match, Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole. Right off the gate, I've got to say, I hate their new themes, whatever this is. Death Rebel, is it? I just hate the themes that they've got now. They sound so generic, really off-putting, to be honest. Anyway, they have a good scrap early on. I like the intensity and the innovation in this one. They bring a chain in, they tie it to the rope, and then Adam Cole uses it as a guillotine, pulls it, and Kyle O'Reilly falls over. A lot of callbacks from their earlier feuds, including a dive through the stage, which was quite impressive, and also a brainbuster on the steel stairs and a brainbuster on the table at one point as well. They're beating the hell out of each other. There is a goofy moment in between when they're sitting on the chairs and they're trading shots, and it just isn't believable. And the ref also getting involved, saying, don't do this, don't do this. Like, mate, it's not your job to dictate morality, I should say. Your job is to call the match, and he gets decked for it, rightfully so. It ends when Kyle O'Reilly's kicking out of all this stuff, all these big finishes, and it ends with a knee from the top from Kyle O'Reilly with a chain around his knee through a chair, and that's enough to incapacitate Adam Cole, apparently. Even though I feel like Kyle O'Reilly suffered more damage in this match, it's Cole who ends up getting the stretcher job in this one. I would say I enjoyed the match. If you cut about 10 minutes off of it, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. It was a little bit overindulgent at times. I think cut a couple of the filler spots out and you would have had a really solid match, but I still enjoyed it and the time did go by fast. I just think it could have been a little bit shorter and a little bit less of the dramatic kickouts and a bit of the goofiness in between. But other than that, it's a good match, and I've got to say, I did prefer night 1 to night 2, but it's just a nitpick. Solid show all around. So overall, a decent takeover, I have to say. Probably not my favourite, but there were some interesting moments and matches. The unsanctioned match could have been a tiny bit shorter. The ladder match was good. Cross versus Balor was better than I thought it was going to be. And you know what? Even the matches I wasn't looking forward to, like Dunn Kushida and the women's tag title match, were actually pretty solid. And even the women's title match from night 1. I think my favourite match overall across both nights was Walter versus Ciampa. Maybe a close second would be the ladder match and then Cross Balor. But the unsanctioned match was good too. I just think it could have been a little bit shorter. So I have to say, with NXT moving to Tuesdays, hopefully they get back on the right track with storylines, trying not to counter AEW as much and focusing on their own product, because there's some good stuff there. I just think it could be developed a little bit more. There's a couple of people on NXT, in my opinion, who have outstayed their welcome, but you know what? They always deliver on takeovers, so I've got to give it a thumbs up. But what did you think of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like the video as it helps get the channel out there, and remember to subscribe to NLW Figs. Next up on this channel is going to be my WrestleMania reviews. Night 1 will be up Sunday, and my Night 2 review will be up on Monday. Stay tuned for that. But that's it from me. Thank you for watching this review, and I will catch you guys later.